Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Hello, how are you? How's everyone? Okay, I'm Goud. Welcome to the Goud Crowd. We are on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. And you can see the call-in number. It's 435-900-8595. That's a new number, so I'm having a little bit of trouble remembering it. We have a show today. We'll talk about a bunch of different things. We'll discuss immigration issues. Then we'll talk about, let's see what else I have here. I have a bunch of stuff. Oh, we're going to have on one of my friends, Melissa Moy, who's a big Comic-Con person. And she just went to Comic-Con last week in San Diego. So she's going to come out and talk about it. If you have questions about that, send them in, including, but we'll talk about stuff like how to get tickets and what are the highlights. I actually went last year. It was really interesting, but she goes every year. So she will have lots of insights, I think. And then we'll have Back Home from Brandy on to just give us more warnings from Illinois. And just so you know, we're on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. We live stream on my X handle, which is at Goud for Utah. And then also at the, is it Main Street Media Utah, YouTube, Rumble, and X handles, Mr. Producer. And then also kmmu.org.
That is correct. If you go to Media Utah on X, or you go to Media Utah on YouTube, you'll find us. You can search KMMU on Rumble. So there you go. Okay,
perfect. Okay, with that, let's get started. So I wanted to actually start with this. This isn't really, well, I don't know if it's necessarily relevant, but this is the former chair of the Utah Republican Party, Carson Jorgensen, and I just thought this was interesting.
One of the questions I most often ask is, who should I listen to? Which commentators got the answers?
I also ask myself that question, but I don't think I should ever listen to Carson. So here we go.
Where's the truth coming from?
I'm breaking my rules.
I wouldn't listen to so much what these people say, but look at what they do. There's a reason why everybody loved Charlie Kirk.
Well, I agree we should look at what people do. So Carson is a big talker about how he wanted to be governor. I assume he still wants to be governor. But what he always leaves out is that he has a sheep farm and he hires cheap foreign labor instead of Americans. And so what he'll tell you is that he cannot find Americans who are willing to be sheep herders on his ranch. And what he'll just leave it at that. But the reality is that he can't find them because he doesn't pay enough. He pays $2,134 or $2,132.41 a month to work 24/7. So that's like $3 an hour. And the reason I say 24/7 is because these sheep herders have to actually go out with the sheep, like sleep in a trailer or a tent, eat out there with the sheep in the mountains. And so you're talking about a tough job, and one where someone has to love the outdoors, kind of love the isolation of it. And so you're going to have to pay more than that to attract Americans to that type of job. But Carson refuses to pay market wages. Instead, he complains that Americans won't work for him at his low slave wage.
Not only did he talk, he was out there building a movement that probably brought the biggest demographic of young voters to the conservative cause that's ever been. He was building something.
I did want to point out, though, he's got a very nice studio. If you notice, look in the background there. He's got this fancy little earpiece. I don't know if someone's whispering in his ear to tell him his lines. I assume this is all paid for with cheap foreign labor.
People like Scott Pressler, one person out there changing the way that our country works and our representatives respond to the public. People like Nick Shirley, who are out there risking their tail every day to expose fraud and tear down the system, but not just for the sake of tearing down the system and burning it to the ground to rain over the ashes. No, He's out there building something, testifying before Congress.
Oh no, I just lost it. Sorry. Let me try. That's annoying. Okay, hold on. Although I feel like I'm going to lose any audience I have listening to this. It's so bad. Okay, here we go. Let's try again.
Out there changing the way that our country works and our representatives respond to the public. People like Nick Shirley, who are out there risking their tail every day to expose fraud and tear down the system, but not just for the sake of tearing down the system and burning it to the ground to reign over the ashes. No, he's out there building something, testifying before Congress, doing it the right way. There are plenty of people out there who will ask questions, but very few of them are going to produce answers. And I would say this: if all they do is ask questions and never have a solution, well, they're probably part of the problem.
I guess those are supposed to be deep thoughts by Carson Jorgensen. Now, the reality is he talks about the idea of fraud. Well, how about how he's hiring these foreigners at below market wages instead of Americans? In a social media post, he said that if an American applies for a job with him, that he has to hire them over a foreigner. And so I responded and asked him to send me one of his listings, and he still hasn't done it. And that's because the entire system that he works under is a big effing fraud on Americans. Now, he wants to say this is the latest thing by the establishment, the people that benefit from the system the way it is right now, is they want to tear down people who are actually out there trying to make changes. So for all of his bullshit talk about, there was, Nick Shirley is fighting fraud somewhere else. There's a whole army of people in Utah fighting fraud right here every single day. He won't talk about that. He'll never acknowledge that. We had an election, the GOP gubernatorial primary election in 2024 was stolen, and it was done through the use of forged signatures. Carson Jorgensen won't talk about that because that benefits people like him, that theft of an election. So just understand that he's not the answer to any of this. I don't even think he's particularly intelligent because he's not even capable of running a business and following the rules that everyone else has to follow. He's a big talker, because it's always like, oh, my pioneer roots and blah, blah, blah. And like, while I admire the pioneers, I think what they went through was horrendous. And it showed that they were very strong people, that they fled this persecution. They took these hand carts. They went across the country through harsh conditions. They found a new place where they could build a home and they could practice their religion freely. And they didn't stop there, by the way. That's what's impressive about it, is they kept on sending people to more locations to start more settlements and to keep on moving. It's extremely impressive what they did. But I don't think you can harken back to that while also sitting here, like that type of just strength and character, while also turning around and advocating for open borders and unlimited cheap labor because you're unwilling to actually build up your fellow countrymen by giving them jobs, training them, and paying them market wages. Okay, so then the next, we'll switch to immigration. Let's start with this. This is the mayor of Provo. And speaking of, and this gets us to the topic of the pioneers, and you'll kind of understand why I brought it up. So here we go.
As modern day pioneers whose resilience, perseverance, and commitment to building new lives free from religious and other forms of persecution reflect the pioneer spirit at the heart of Provo's identity, and that Provo reaffirms its commitment to welcoming refugees, honoring its pioneer heritage by offering refuge and opportunity in alignment with its values, communities, goals, and civic responsibilities. So thank you. I, Marcia Jenkins, Mayor of the City of Provo, do hereby proclaim that the City of Provo honors refugees as modern-day pioneers whose resilience, perseverance, and commitment to building new lives free from religious and other forms of persecution, reflect the pioneer spirit at the heart of Provo's identity.
So what she's missing here is that when the pioneers came, they actually came into an empty land, and then they built a civilization out of it, right? And then they built their churches, they built or their ward houses, they built their temples, they built out what is modern day Utah. I even think like, you know, they were talking about all the places in between, and the St. George and down Vegas. I think even Vegas was founded, has a Mormon origination story. And what I think is so fascinating about it is she doesn't understand that there's a big distinction between when they came here and what these refugees today come here. So, you know, the pioneers didn't have any sort of a kind of government support system, but when refugees come to the US today, they're given welfare benefits for life. It's like literally you are eligible to have welfare benefits for your entire life. So there is no comparison to what the pioneers went through when they had to escape persecution in the US and coming to, at that time, to Mexico. But compared to what these refugees who come here today, and also most of them are not fleeing religious persecution and things like that. They're fleeing maybe a war zone. And typically what it is a bunch of people who didn't want to fight for their country. And I mean that the way it sounds. Okay, so like, I don't find it impressive. I actually think it would be better if a lot of these people went and fought and, you know, helped win these wars in their home countries and fix them. But it just seems like a lot of people want to run away from those things and then come to the US, build a life, and then actually draw us into their home battles, right? Instead of them going and fighting their home battles and fixing the problem. So then I thought this might be interesting. So I was looking at a few weeks ago, there was a case that came out of the Fifth Circuit talking about illegal aliens getting in-state tuition. So let me pull this up for you. And there's a federal statute. It is 8 USC 1623. Here, let me pull this up first. Give me 1 second. Let me switch what I'm sharing. So, okay. And what this federal law says, and it looks like it was passed in 96 and it went into effect in 98. I don't think we'd get a law like this today at the federal level. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, an alien who is not lawfully present in the United States shall not be eligible on the basis of residence within a state or a political subdivision for any post-secondary education benefit unless a citizen or national of the United States is eligible for such benefit, in no less an amount, duration, and scope, without regard to whether the citizen or national is such a resident. So the Department of Justice has been challenging states that offer in-state tuition to illegal aliens. And one of the recent ones that happened was actually in Texas. So let me pull that up. I'm having here, sorry. So here's the case. I read it, so you don't have to. Yeah, I've got to find it. I think it's this one. There, okay. Okay, so then if you look here, in Texas, they were offering people, so just a little background, in June 2025, so this is under Trump, the United States sued Texas to prohibit enforcement of the challenge provisions. And we'll talk about what those are in a minute. Alleging that Texas had ignored federal law for years by permitting illegal aliens to pay in-state resident tuition while requiring out-of-state U.S. citizens to pay higher non-resident fees. So then the challenge provisions said this. Okay. So there were 3 instances in Texas where you could be considered a resident of the state for in-state tuition. So the first is you establish a domicile in the state not later than 1 year before the census date of the academic term in which the person is enrolled in an institution of higher education, and maintain that domicile continuously for the year preceding that census date. The second is when a dependent's parents meet those same domicile requirements. So they lived there for a year before the academic year started. And then the third, and this one's interesting because this actually mirrors Utah law, that a person graduated from a public or private high school in this state or received the equivalent of a high school diploma in this state and maintained a residence continuously in the state for the 3 years preceding the date of graduation or receipt of the diploma equivalent. It's on this page here. If you're able to see the screen, it's up on the screen. And the year preceding the census date of the academic term in which the person is enrolled in the institution of higher education. So they had these 3 different ways for people to establish residency, and they allowed illegal aliens to also follow these laws and be able to establish residency in Texas. And like I said, the third one about going to high school in the state for 3 years and getting your diploma, that reflects Utah law. And then it says each of the 3 pathways is tethered to establishing a domicile or residence within Texas. So it comes into the purview of that federal law I read you a minute ago. Now, here's the money quote. Let's see, page. Sorry, just give me a second here. So here's what they said. Read naturally, the unless clause, and this is from the federal law, describes the condition precedent that must be satisfied before states may bestow residence-based post-secondary education benefits on illegal aliens. Put another way, if some U.S. citizens or nationals, regardless of residency, are ineligible for reduced in-state tuition rates, then all illegal aliens must be ineligible to receive the same benefit based on residency. U.S. citizens or nationals must be treated no worse than illegal aliens. So I think this law actually would make it so that our in-state, the basis for the basis for us to offer in-state tuition, or our legal basis for offering institution, it would also be invalidated by this statute. So let me, I'll show you the Utah law. Give me one second here. And then I can kind of, so it's HB 144 is the one that gives tuition waivers. I guess it's a waiver to get in-state tuition for illegal aliens. And it says you must be admitted as a student at the U, have attended a high school in the state of Utah for 3 or more years, graduated from a Utah high school, or attained the equivalent of a high school diploma prior to the start of the term, cannot have registered for college classes prior to the fall of 2002, 2003. So this is a pretty old law. Cannot have their first enrollment at an institution of higher education outside of the Utah State of Higher Education. So, you have to be going to Utah's, so it's that residency issue. Must have filed an application to legalize their immigration status or will file an application as soon as they are eligible. So when I saw this first part, must have filed an application to legalize their immigration status, I thought, okay, our law is distinct from the Texas law, right? We're actually requiring you to go and apply for the legal status. However, we say or will file as soon as they are eligible. So I'm thinking more that this law is actually the equivalent of that Texas law that we just talked about, and that Utah's offering of in-state tuition, even though it is limited, or in-state tuition for illegal aliens, even though it is limited, is still illegal under federal law. Now the question is, will the federal government actually come and file a lawsuit to shut it down? I don't know the answer to that. So I guess we'll see what happens. I I kind of hope they do, because the point of that case, and I thought that quote that I read was really key, right? And that is, put another way, if some U.S. citizens or nationals, regardless of residency, are ineligible for reduced in-state tuition rates, then all illegal aliens must be ineligible to receive the same benefit based on residency. U.S. citizens or nationals must be treated no worse than illegal aliens. I think that first of all, that's a basic. That's how it should be. But that makes it clear to me that we should not be offering any sort of in-state tuition benefits to illegal aliens. And so it would be good if we can find a way to shut this down. Okay, so that's what I had for you on that. Let me now, oops. Oh, gotta stop sharing. Anyway, so I thought that was kind of interesting because I've had people ask me about that in terms of what impact that case has in Utah, or people posting about it, but it could have an impact. We'll have to see if the Civil Rights Division comes after it. Because the thing is, I don't know if there would be a private right of action to try to enforce that in the state. I think that could be interesting, but I don't know who would have standing off the top of my head. I don't know who would have standing to be able to challenge it, unless you're like an out-of-state resident coming to school at the University of Utah and you have to pay the non-resident rate. And so then maybe you could challenge it on, I don't know, maybe equal protection grounds. Well, that doesn't make sense to me, but okay. Next is, today we had John Curtis has proposed an amnesty bill. So let me pull up. I think this post actually kind of summarizes it well. So this guy Cernovich posted, I was in Utah rappelling, and the guide, great young Mormon man native to Utah, was telling me how expensive Utah has gotten. Your plan allows wages to stay low and visa holders to get welfare, and locals get priced out. And that's exactly what John Curtis's bill is all about. So let's get into some of the details of what he has proposed. And just so it's clear here, he's not the only one that has proposed an amnesty bill. Maybe before we get to this, I mean, Celeste Malloy is a co-sponsor on an amnesty bill right now before Congress that will give any illegal alien who claims that they worked in agriculture amnesty. And, you know, if you notice, Trump hasn't really come out and condemned the amnesty push that's been going on with various Republican legislators. And it is my view that as soon as the midterms are over, that we are going to get amnesty, whether it's from the current Congress or what I suspect is going to be a Democrat majority House and probably a Democrat majority Senate at the rate we're going. We'll probably end up with amnesty, and I will see it as a complete betrayal on the part of Trump to do that at all. I do think he has a certain subsection of the Republican Party, I've said this before, about a third of it, that no matter what he does, they will claim it's America first and MAGA, and they'll just go along with it. And so he'll be able to keep that third. But as for the rest of the party, I mean, I voted for mass deportations. I voted to get every illegal alien out. And he's to the left of me on some immigration issues, because remember during the campaign, he would talk about things like, oh, I want to staple a green card to like college graduation, your diploma and things like that. I don't agree with that. I don't even think we should have foreigners at U.S. schools at all. And the reason is because American schools, American colleges, American universities should be about educating Americans in an environment with other Americans. I mean, you know, when I went to school, it was pretty rare to have foreigners in your undergrad. And now it's all, I mean, from what I can tell, our colleges are full of foreigners. And I think that actually detracts from the educational experience of the Americans that are in those schools. And that's very sad to me. You know, that's not how it should be. So let's see, Marsgate says, Curtis won't get rid of the filibuster either. He said so. Yeah, he will not pass the SAVE Act. And his claims that he supports it are false, since he's not willing to. It's not even getting rid of the filibuster. It's just making the filibuster what it's supposed to be, which is You're supposed to talk and debate until you run out of the ability to do so, and you have to vote on the bill. That's how the filibuster is supposed to be. But they want this lazy version of a filibuster so that John Curtis can come back. You know, they work like 3-day weeks, and then he's back in Utah all the time, going to events and stuff. When I personally, like, you ran for Senate, I'd rather you just stay in DC and don't come back. Like, we don't need you back here until you have to run for re-election. And even then, don't really need you back here. So, okay, let me pull up let's pull this up. Okay. So here's John Curtis. The suit is horrible, like barf. If you can see it, it's like a pinstripe suit, but the stripes are way too far apart. It almost looks like it's got like a grid on it, and then he's got a little vest. It's horrible. There's like weird hair plugs. Everything about him is weird. Okay, so he is proposing a bill that would create a voluntary state-sponsored visa program, allowing state legislatures to expand their temporary migrant workforce. I will say this: if it's done at the state legislature level, we probably have more control over it, because I think the state legislature tends to be a little bit more responsive to voters. In Utah, you probably still end up getting more migrant workers, because the reality is that I think a lot of Utahns are actually very pro open borders. From my own understanding, it does seem like the LDS Church supports open borders. So you'll end up with probably some number of these. They call them migrant workers, and it says 5,000. That's not quite the number, but you'll end up with migrant workers here if it passes. So now, according to John Curtis, he says that I've heard time and time again from small business owners, farmers, and ranchers like Carson Jorgensen across Utah how difficult it has become to hire enough workers to meet growing market demands. And then it says the United States saw that. Hold on. Oh, Utah is experiencing a severe worker shortage, according to a U.S. Chamber of Commerce report from December. With 96 available workers for every 100 open jobs. This is an improvement from August 2025, when the state had 72 available workers for every 100 jobs. Okay, these numbers don't even make any sense, because if it's true that there were 72 available workers for every 100 jobs, that's a massive worker shortage. Why didn't wages go up? Like, does anyone actually believe this stuff when you read it? Now, it's put up by the Chamber of Commerce, so that's going to be just propaganda, right? Those guys are just propagandists. But let me show you an example of the last time I think we had a labor shortage. I don't think we've had one in the U.S. since the late 90s, okay? And that's when I had graduated from college, and I worked at a law firm as a docket clerk. And in the 1 year that I worked there, I got multiple raises that year because of the .com stuff that was going on. It was causing wages to actually rise significantly. And so this article, law firms pay soars to stem .com defections. This is from February 2nd of 2000. And let me just read to you some of what it says here. It says, so they were having massive pay increases due to competition from the .com firms that were poaching talent. So under the new structure, right, first-year lawyers will make a base salary of $125,000, and with bonuses, often for working long hours, they can earn more than $150,000. Last year, beginning lawyers in the Bay Area earned about $95,000 in base salary, plus bonuses of around $5,000. So that was like a 50% increase, right? So it went from about 150, it went from 100,000 to 150,000 in 1 year when you say salary and bonus. Has anybody seen any wage increases like that happening at all, ever? I haven't heard of this. It's been dead for years because we have so many immigrants coming into the country legally. I mean, forget about the illegal immigration part even. Just legally, we have more than 1 million people that are immigrating every year. Those are like green card holders and stuff. Plus you have H-1Bs. You have student visas coming in who then they convert into what are called OPTs so they can work after they graduate. And then they go from there to H-1Bs and then to green cards. Then we've got all the illegal labor as well, which is driving down working class wages. So there hasn't been a worker shortage in the U.S. I think since this 2000. I think that was the last time we had one. Because you remember after 2000, so 2001 is when we had the dot-com bust, right? So once that happened, this stuff, I mean, wages didn't go down because that usually doesn't happen, but you can kind of see that we haven't had this happen. There's no labor shortage because the government now is involved in trying to make it so there never is one. They are purposely suppressing our wages. John Curtis is one of the people doing it now. So, you know, like he says, oh, all these small business owners, they tell me they can't find people to work for them. Let me see what he said exactly. He said, I have heard time and time again from small business owners, farmers, and ranchers across Utah how difficult it has become to hire enough workers to meet growing market demands. What he leaves out is his donors are telling him to hire enough workers at the slave wages that they want to pay. And the example I just gave you a few minutes ago was what I told you about Carson Jorgensen. His sheep ranch pays workers $2,132.41 a month. So yeah, guess what? He can't find American workers to do that because no one's going to do that job. Marsgate says, wages are dead. They really are. It's sad. Alex says, so glad you're back out, and I want to give a shout out to your show sponsor, Vagisil. Vagisil provides relief when things get uncomfortable. Ask your local pharmacist or grocer about Vagisil today. Oh, man. Okay. Luckily for people, I don't get offended by stuff, so whatever. Okay, so here's, this was put out by the Utah Wool Growers Association. And because I want you to understand what I'm talking about with this wage suppression. So these guys were all upset because I brought up that the reason why they can't find workers or American workers is because they pay slave wages, and this is how they defended it. It's actually pretty funny. Let's see. Despite this contribution, Phil Lyman's cohort, Goud Maragani, has used the offensive and factually bankrupt label of slave labor to describe this system. It's actually factually correct. The claim that we hire compliant labor without dreams is a political tactic that insults both the hardworking individuals who join our operations and the farmers and ranchers who feed America. For many, the H-2A program is the dream. Consider the economic reality in Peru, where many of our herders originate. The monthly minimum wage is roughly $275 to $300, with the average wage sitting between $500 and $650. Why should I care about the monthly wage in Peru? I am pretty sure that I live in America, and this is irrelevant to a determination of what you should be paying in America, right? I mean, they're so condescending because I think at their hearts, they know what they're doing is wrong, and that if people actually realize what they pay, they would be offended and they'd want these guys shut down. See, the game that the ranchers and the farmers always play with this is they tell you how they can't find Americans to do the jobs, and they'll be like, it's just such hard work. I mean, picking lettuce is really hard work. And you're like, okay, I guess it's hard. But what they never tell you is what they pay people to pick the lettuce. Because if they told you what they paid, you would quickly realize, well, yeah, obviously no one's going to want to do that job. You're not paying enough. So here's what they continue here. In contrast, Utah ranchers are federally mandated to pay H-2A workers a monthly wage of $2,132.41. Wow, that's so much money. Further, and that's to work 24/7. Like I said earlier, sheep, if you're doing sheep herding, you have to go and be with the sheep, right? You travel with the sheep, you sleep with the sheep. I think they sleep in a trailer or tent. You cook out there. You know, it could be isolating. I don't know if you have a friend or something go with you, whatever it is, that's tough work. It should be paid more than this. Furthermore, these herders have zero cost of living. Well, obviously they're on a mountain somewhere. Further, their housing, clothing, their housing. Like, what housing are you giving them? Clothing, cell phones, and even their food, based on weekly grocery lists they submit themselves, are fully provided by the ranchers. Oh my God, I can't believe it. What a deal. It's no wonder more people don't want to work for you. Let me just add that this pay ends up being a total of $25,588 a year. You can't live off that in the US. And so obviously no one is going to go and get that job, because you can get welfare. Frankly, you just go get welfare and make more money than that. And it would be easier to do. I mean, people are rational. They're not stupid. So that's not enough money. And if you want to talk about a minimum wage, that's the minimum wage. It's what people can get if they go get welfare benefits, because I think most people are rational. And if they're going to give up their welfare benefits, they're going to want a salary that's actually going to pay them more than that, which to me, I mean, it makes sense, right? I don't like it, but I understand where they're coming from. Now, at the McDonald's by my house, I looked on Indeed, and they pay between, I think it said maybe $12 and $18 an hour. So I took 15. If you work at McDonald's at $15 an hour and work 40 hours a week for 50 weeks, so you would get 2 weeks off, you would make $30,000. So you'd make more money than you would sheep farming or being a sheep herder. And so that's the problem. You see, like the person that's living where I live, they're not going to go down to wherever Carson lives to work on his ranch, because they'll have family and all that kind of stuff here. And so they're going to they would rather have a job like this, I think, even though I think even the McDonald's job should pay more, but it won't, again, because when you get to McDonald's, you're talking about competition with illegal labor. That's a problem. And so no matter what job it is that Americans are looking for, we're constantly adding all this competition and making their lives more difficult. And I just find this all really offensive. And I think we need to stop it. But just one more thing too is like also like it's kind of something that Carson leaves out. Someone was telling me that in the pioneer days, when these men used to go out and take care of the sheep, they used to read the Book of Mormon and learn more about it and understand it better. And so, you know, if it's a culture, there's a cultural piece to it as well. And all of this, I think, is being robbed because Carson wants to save a buck, and people like Carson want to save a buck instead of paying those market wages, helping build their communities, because there's kids in the communities they live in who can't stay there because they can't find jobs that are actually worth staying there for. So they come up here. And I'm not saying, I mean, I don't have a problem to come up here, obviously, but like they may want to actually stay by their parents and their families, but they can't. And we should make that possible. The way you make that possible is that the farmers and ranchers need to stop with this importing labor. We need to shut these programs up, and they should have to pay market wages to hire Americans, making it so their communities will also be better off. And I know the answer is always, oh, your lettuce will cost more. Okay, I'm happy to pay more for lettuce if I don't have a migrant, some illegal alien picking it. And also, just so you know, the reason why there's the diarrhea lettuce is because the migrants poop in the fields with your lettuce. So, you know, maybe it'd be nice to have an American do it. They might have better hygiene too. Marsgate says, sheep herders campers look pretty fun for about a week or two. Then they send almost all that money back to their home country. Right, exactly. They're not doing it to build up America. I mean, if you hire locals, they will actually try to build a life in your community. Now, at this $2,132.41, they're not building anything. They can't even buy a house. And in some of the communications I've had with Carson, he doesn't think they should be able to buy a house. He's okay with that. I mean, that's my point. So that earlier video I showed you where he wants to lecture about who to listen to, like the answer is don't listen to Carson. And we should listen to him when he says, though, look at what people do. Right. I'm looking at what you do. I don't think that you're a good American. I actually think that you hate Americans, and that's why you're hiring foreigners. Okay. I'm totally off topic here. Let's get back onto our John Curtis. Sorry, I got a little distracted. Okay, let's get back onto his bill. So he's got his bill here. It would create this new visa program. So basically, you're talking about like another H-1B type program, but this would be run at the state level. And what they would do is, well, just one thing that's kind of interesting. This Deseret News article says, the United States saw the highest levels of net immigration in American history under President Joe Biden, totaling more than 8 million entries between the start of 2021 and the end of 24, according to Census Bureau data. This is false. They imported, it's not let in. They actively imported more than 20 million people into the US. So I don't know where the 8 million comes from. I know they're saying Census Bureau data, like whatever, dude. This is propaganda to make you think fewer people came in than they did. So what this would do is it would create a state-sponsored visa program. There would be 5,000 per fiscal year, plus a proportional share of a 245,000 visa pool based on a state's population, a state's compliance with a 3-year limit, and growth in the U.S. gross domestic product. So it's not just 5,000, it's 5,000 plus this additional amount. Let me see what that is. Hold on. 5,000. Let's see. Let's just take 245. You can see they have a very complicated formula. So it's 5,000 plus maybe potentially another 5,000 visas, so 10,000 visas that you would do this way with the potential to increase this over time. Then they want to incent, so the bill itself will amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to form a new non-immigrant classification for state-sponsored individuals coming to work or invest, as well as their spouses and children for up to 3 years. So do you really think it's going to be a non-immigrant visa if they're coming here with their spouse and their kid? Because I don't think they're going to leave at that point. Then it says to incentivize compliance, states can make visa holders post a bond refunded upon proof of departure. Anyone think that's going to happen? There's no way that's going to happen. If federal agencies find more than 3% of visa holders in a state are overstaying, the state will be required to implement a bond of $4,000 and their visa quota will be reduced by 50%. These things won't be enforced when you have a Democrat in office, or even actually just a normal Republican. Trump's a little bit different. Despite his flaws, I will just say this, he's still the best Republican president we've had. But if you just have like a regular Republican or a Democrat, they won't even enforce any of these limitations at all. So it should give you a sense of how stupid John Curtis is, that he hasn't learned any lessons from the past about how the immigration system works. The way this will work is the blue states will all just let in as many people as they can. There will be no bond. There will be no enforcement of any of the limitations. And it's just a new visa program to import more people. So let's see. Okay. 3-year limit. Oh, okay, maybe I kind of went out of order here. Okay, well, so anyway, this is the type of, but this to me is, it just shows you what a mess this is. We've had now two members of our delegation have proposed amnesty bills. You have Celeste Malloy with her amnesty provision that will basically give any illegal immigrant that claims to have worked for agriculture gets amnesty. In this one, this kind of got buried in the article, but this also has an amnesty provision here. This bill includes a provision that could be described as a pathway to legal residency for some visa holders who are illegal immigrants, physically present in the U.S. since December 31st, 2016. These illegal immigrants would need to undergo a background check and pay a $1,000 penalty. Of course, if you set something up like this, you'll get massive amounts of fraud, and you'll get millions upon millions of people getting legalized. It's essentially amnesty. And once you do this too, by the way, the Democrats will just come in and they'll say, anyone can get it. It's that easy. You can just waive all these requirements off. So this is basically, he's trying to pass amnesty, and then he's trying to get more workers in to suppress the wages of Utahns. If you notice, there's not even nowhere in here does it talk about what types of jobs they would be doing. So this could be any job that the legislature wants. So if the legislature decides wages are going up too much for electricians, they can go and they can import foreigners to do those jobs. That's what this program would allow them to do. If they think plumbers are making too much money, they could import plumbers to do those jobs. If they think computer programmers are making too much money, I guess they could add this and import even more computer programmers to Utah on top of the H-1Bs that they already do. All of these programs are aimed at destroying the ability of Americans to actually make a living and to get the pay increases we need. See, I hear people talk about inflation all the time, and I agree, inflation is a big problem. And I don't really see us getting a handle on it, to be honest with you, because inflation is driven by deficits, and we're running $2 trillion deficits, and we're just not going to get, we will never get inflation down as long as we keep running deficits, because that requires the Federal Reserve to print money. But the way to get ahead of it is to have wage increases that outpace inflation, and they need to outpace inflation by a long shot now, because since 2020, I think we've had the real inflation rate is much higher than what the government's reporting. I would say it's close to 100%. And so, you know, we need big wage increases, which we still haven't had, and we will never have as long as we have constant immigration into the country. I think we need to have a full immigration moratorium. But, you know, from where we are right now, I don't think we should vote for people who are proposing bills to increase worker visas for people. So, you know, I've already said this. I'm not in Celeste Malloy's district, but I would not vote for her in the general election if I was in her district. And I don't care if the Democrat ended up winning. I don't think there's value in putting a Republican into office who's already made clear that they support amnesty. At least, and I think I'm right on this, at least if you get some sort of a Democrat, the guy who's running, for example, in that district, let's say he wins, I think you can pressure someone like that on things like immigration because they'll want to win re-election. And so that would set that apart from like a Celeste Malloy who is planning to be there for life because she doesn't have anything else going on. And with John Curtis, I've never voted for him, but I'll never vote for someone like this. First of all, he's clearly a fraud, and he's a Democrat. He also has the whole insider trading issue that he was doing when he was in Congress, which for some reason everybody decided to overlook when he ran for Senate. But this, to me, is just a super offensive on a personal level because he's actively trying to suppress the wages of Utahns, and you shouldn't vote for someone like this. And again, if that leads to the Democrat winning, so be it. We can deal with it. But what we cannot have are Republicans pushing amnesty or any sorts of bills that end up destroying American wages. Mr. Producer says, I don't think Carson hates Americans. He just doesn't understand economics unless it affects his bottom line at the ranch. Yeah, I mean, maybe. He's not very bright. And I don't say that because he's a sheep farmer. He's just not very smart if you've ever talked to him. He also wasn't a very good party chair. He had no money. Because when I ran for clerk, I'd be like, do you guys have money you could give me? No, we don't have any money. Yeah. Okay. They just expected people like me to win. You know, I don't know how he thought we were going to win races. Okay. I thought this was really interesting. So there's this guy, Aaron Seary. He's a lawyer, and he deals with a lot of vaccine issues. And he put this out. And this is about a case he's doing in New York State. I guess New York State is trying to put a vaccine mandate in place to force the Amish to vaccinate their children. And apparently, I was listening to an interview with him. The Amish, they will educate their children, I think, in classrooms of 20 or so, with no electricity, no modernity at all. And so it's like, I think it's like very old fashioned, right? But they run their own schools, and New York State has come in now and said, no, you have to follow our vaccine mandates. And so this is what I thought was interesting. They just lost at the Second Circuit, so they're gonna ask for certiorari at the Supreme Court. But he said, yes, the Amish children in this case are far healthier than American children who are vaccinated. Our sworn papers make clear that the families in the 3 Amish schools at issue in this case have a total of 168 unvaccinated children. And they said no vaccines, so they haven't gotten any. And that none of these children have any of the chronic health issues that plague children in the United States. We also provided sworn expert evidence attesting that among a random sample of 168 children, one would expect to find, based on the background rate of chronic disease among US children, 31 cases of environmental allergies, 15 cases of ADHD, 10 cases of asthma, 9 cases of food allergies, and 4 cases of ASD. I don't know what ASD is. I'm wondering if it's autism. Yet the 168 unvaccinated Amish children whose families New York wants to persecute are free from the chronic health conditions, all related to some form of immune system dysregulation that plague the vaccinated communities in New York. Since vaccination is supposedly about improving health, and the Amish who do not vaccinate are clearly healthier, one would expect New York to leave them alone. But that is not how this religion works. And he says, and I think he's right, the entire vaccine industry it's a religion, right? People think, oh, you have to get vaccinated. And then when you try to question it, they don't really have good explanations for anything, really. They don't have real studies showing that it's effective or that we need it. For kids, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, when you look at how much the number of vaccines that they give children has increased over the years, it's insane. Oh, ASD is autism spectrum disorder. Okay, that makes more sense. So, but they, like when you look at how much the number of vaccines that children had to take when I was a kid versus now, it's insane. They've increased it so much. And I do wonder, like, is it causing these health problems? And this, at least with the Amish, it seems to be it's not. I think a lot of diseases are, like the reason why you see diseases in the third world are a combination of, well, actually, it's lack of cleanliness and, because they don't treat their sewage. I used to go when I was a kid, we would go to India and visit. And in this village that my family is originally from, they actually have the sewage would flow into gutters in front of the houses. This is really gross, and then like pigs would eat it and stuff. That was their sewage. That's how it worked. So you can imagine in places like that, there will be more diseases and things like that propagate because it's just not clean. The water isn't properly treated. People get, like, if as an American, if you go to India and drink tap water, you will be sick. And actually a lot of Indians don't even drink it because it's gross. And I think a lot of it in the US, we have a cleaner environment, we have clean water, we take care of things. And so a lot of the diseases are not as likely to be here, which means we should have less of a reason to vaccinate. And I think a lot of the diseases you're seeing, the outbreaks like measles and things like that, are because of immigration. It's not because of it's coming up in America itself. It's because we import people who have these issues, especially when we have open borders. We're just letting everybody in, and they're bringing their diseases here with them and infecting Americans. And this is why I think we need better controls on immigration in general, because it should not be that people can come here with diseases and spread them to Americans. We should be able to keep our country disease free, or, we shouldn't bring them from other places. Okay, let's see here. I thought this was interesting, so let me play this video for you. This guy's gonna speak Telugu. This is the language my parents, it's from there. Actually, this guy is probably from where my parents are from. So here you go.
సంవత్సరానికి 1,10,000 మంది ఇంజనీరింగ్ గ్రాడ్యుయేట్ సర్టిఫికేట్ తీసుకొని వస్తారు.
All right, so he says Every year we have 110,000 people graduate with engineering degrees.
పిల్లలకు అప్లికేషన్ ఇచ్చి వాని ఉద్యోగం కోసం అప్లికేషన్ ఫిలప్ చేయమని నేను కాదు, మీరు టీచర్లకు మీకే చెప్తున్నారు. మీరు వాళ్ళని పిలిచి ఇంజనీరింగ్ సర్టిఫికేట్ తీసుకొని వచ్చి మీరు చదువు చెప్తున్న ఊరిలో ఉన్న పిల్లలు పిలిపించి ప్లెయిన్ పేపర్ ఇచ్చి ఒక జాబ్ కోసం అప్లికేషన్ ఫిలప్ చేయమని.
Okay, so the literal translation of what he's saying is like, he's basically saying like they don't, even though they're going to engineering schools, they don't actually have skills. Like they're not getting skills. You can see that if you give them a plain piece of paper, he says, and make them fill out a job application. No, I don't know that that makes sense, but unless he's saying to, you need to go and draft a resume, right? It's a little bit unclear, the context there.
ఇది క్రిమినల్ వేస్ట్. వాడు ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదువుకున్న చిన్న జాబ్ కోడు, స్కిల్స్ నేర్చుకోడు. తల్లిదండ్రులు మా పిల్లోడు ఇంజనీరింగ్ అయింది ఉద్యోగం అంటారు, నా దగ్గరకు వస్తుంటారు కాన్స్టిట్యున్సీ నుంచో.
So he's saying that people, they're sending their kids to engineering school and the parents are, and then they're not learning the skills that they need. They're not able to get a job. And he's hearing about this from people complaining about it.
బంధువులు మావాడు ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదివింది, పెద్ద పెద్ద చదువు చదివింది సార్ అంటే పేరెంట్స్కి తెలియదు కాదు. సంవత్సరానికి 1,00,000.
So what he's saying, they have some of that, like maybe a more literal translation here, but what he's saying is that that this is a scam, that these schools are a scam. He's telling the parents, you're sending your kids to these engineering schools. They're not teaching them skills. They're not teaching them anything. And then you're like, you guys need to be better about maybe checking on this, because India doesn't have those systems in place like we do to try to prevent this type of fraud from happening, I guess. But so he is telling the people, these are fraud. It's criminal what's going on with these engineering schools. And then we're turning around and we're importing them all as H1B visas. Because actually, the state he's from, it's called Telangana. That state is one of the biggest sources of these H1B visa holders in India. So we're getting tons of these people here, and even their own equivalent of governor is saying they don't have skills. But of course, we're going to keep bringing them here. Just out of interest here, I'll show you kind of a map of India. I think it's interesting, so I will show you. Telangana. Okay, so this is a map, and so he's here. And so my parents are actually, my parents are from Hyderabad. So this used to actually be part of a bigger state called Andhra Pradesh. And it used to go like out here, or maybe it's down here. Yeah, down here. And, but then they split it into two, maybe in the last 10 years or so. So now this is the part that's left. And they had all sorts of, it was the types of issues you even hear about here. Like the people in this Telangana part would be like, they're taking all of our water in the Andhra part, and they're stealing our water. It's just like the Colorado River Compact, and everyone's fighting about water. Same stuff there, just different language. Okay. So then we have a few, I think Melissa might be coming on in a few minutes here. Mr. Producer, let me know when Melissa calls in. Okay, and then I've got, this is the other thing I had. There's a billionaire's tax being proposed in California. I thought this was kind of interesting. And California's Democratic Party endorsed it. And so what this is, if I understand this correctly, is this is a wealth tax on billionaires. And this is all I want to say about it is I'm okay with it. And I'm okay with it from this perspective. These billionaires, they go out and they fund left-wing causes. Just as an example, Mark Zuckerberg, remember in 2020, he spent $400 million to essentially steal the election for Biden. Now, for some reason, Trump has him at events at the White House, and I don't understand why, because last I checked, Mark Zuckerberg is not funding conservative causes. And I don't think he should be at any Republican events until he funds our causes, right? We should be demanding, it's like reparations. You want a seat at the table with the president? You need to fund conservative causes in the country. And not just the Republican Party. you need to fund conservative nonprofits so that they can keep up these battles to fight to preserve our nation. And for some reason, we're not doing that. I don't understand why, but this is the thing. So they proposed this wealth tax. The California Democratic Party has come out for it. I'm sure it'll start at billionaires and then it'll work its way down to probably middle class. But my view is, I don't know why I should oppose it, right? Like if it was happening here, I'd vote against it. But I'm not spending any capital trying to oppose this kind of stuff, even though I'm fundamentally against it. Because I feel like you paid for this. You supported the party that is bringing this on. So now you get to deal with the consequences of it. Enjoy it. You know, if you have to pay extra taxes because that's what you wanted, that's not a me problem. That's a you problem. And maybe if you had been nicer and actually supported conservative causes too, I'd feel more sympathetic. But since you didn't, hey, have at it. You're going to enjoy. You're going to pay higher taxes. They're going to steal your wealth. I'm good with it. And in fact, I hope when you try to move out of California that they actually still steal your wealth on your way out because they won't let you leave. I think that'd be great. Like, please steal all his wealth. And the other thing is, even if he wasn't going to fund conservative causes, he hasn't even fixed the problems with the meta properties. So like the algorithm favoring leftists hasn't been fixed. There's no guarantee that we won't be censored again. All the things, the problems that happened in 2020 where they were censoring conservatives, censoring the truth, we haven't fixed any of that. So I don't even know why these rich guys are at Trump's White House. I just find it weird because I feel like it was Trump supporters who were impacted by all of these policies, and Trump hasn't done enough to fight to make it so that we're, you know, like they make it up to us. Mars Gay says Indians fighting over anything is good popcorn time. It is. It actually really is. It also just shows you that no matter where you are in the world, the problems are all similar. Yeah, and especially with like the water thing. You know, in India, they actually they have droughts and stuff though. So they have the monsoon season where my family's from. So it does rain a lot, but sometimes the monsoon season just doesn't happen. And then they'll have a big drought. And I think at that point, water becomes a huge issue, and they grow rice, right? Rice is a water intensive crop. So you're talking about, and you have to feed 1.6 billion people. I mean, it's not a joke. You have to have food for that. Okay. Hold on, let me see what else I got here. And then I had, let me see. Let me check where Melissa is. She was supposed to call in. I'm just, Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, let me see what else I had that was kind of bothering me. Oh, I don't think I want to talk about this. I do think this is kind of interesting. So this Vivek Ramaswamy guy, you know, he's showing up to he's now the Republican nominee for governor of Ohio. But the problem is, because he's supported by Trump, there are limits as to, and I think actually probably he supports these things, right? And I'll just say this, I've always thought he's a little bit of a scam artist, because when he ran for president in 24, he's very articulate, very good at kind of expressing conservative thought and conservative viewpoints. But what I always got stuck on with him was I didn't understand, like, if you believed all these things, and in the founding fathers and what they wrote, in our Declaration and our Constitution, where were you during COVID? Like, how come you weren't out there fighting with the rest of us about mask mandates, vaccine mandates, and things like that? And it turns out it's because he was advising the governor of Ohio, from what I read, and he was actually advocating for shutdowns. So he's not like a true blue believer like people like me, right? Oh, we have Melissa. Okay, we'll come back to this topic. Let me add her to this. Hello.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. What was that?
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me better?
Oh yeah, thanks for coming on. Okay, so we have Melissa Moy on. We're very excited to have you, Melissa. I've built up what you're going to talk about today. So,
Cool.
okay. So, do you want to talk about tell us how long, or maybe talk about how long you've been going to Comic-Con?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've been going for about, I lost track, but at least 10 to 12 years in a row. The only time I missed was 1 or 2 years when it shut down during the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it was just last week, right? For Comic-Con?
Yes, yeah, it was the week before. Mm-hmm.
And tell us a highlight from this year's Comic-Con.
Sure. Let's see. One of my favorite things that happened this year was I went to the Hall H Spaceballs panel. So there's going to be a new sequel. That's super exciting after all these years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was also. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, it's okay. The same Friday, I stayed in Hall H most of the day. I also caught The Walking Dead Season 3, Dead City panel, the part of The Lord of the Rings Season 3 panel too. And I just kind of stayed in between because that's the thing, they don't clear out the room. So you need to stay. Sometimes you're attending panels you don't want to attend so that you can catch the one you really want to attend because it's a seating issue.
Yeah, maybe talk a little bit about what Hall H is so people understand.
Sure. So there are a lot of things to do at
Oh, we lost her. Melissa, where are you? Let's see. Hello.
There's more than 1,000 people.
You got cut out, Melissa.
Oh, okay, there we go. So although 11,000 seats sounds like a lot, more than 100,000 people have tickets to Comic-Con.
Sorry, hey Melissa, you cut out like when you started answering the question. Talking about what Hall H is, you cut out.
Sure. Yeah. So Hall H is the largest room in the convention center, and it's the best place to catch all the panels. So that's where all the biggest panels, which would have directors, actors, producers talking about their TV shows or movies. So that's where I saw Hall H is where I saw the Walking Dead Season 3 Dead City panel, the Lord of the Rings Season 3 TV show panel, and Spaceballs. And I was mentioning how you kind of have to stay, sometimes catching a few panels you don't want to see in order to see the panel you want, because they don't clear the room in between panels. So in Hall H, so that means you could be staying there all day just to wait for the 5 o'clock one that you really, really want to attend.
Yeah. Okay. I think is Hall H where they had the Marvel.
Yes, and that is what the problem, right? So I believe the panel was 5:30 Saturday. And a lot of cool things happened also on Saturday. They had all the Apple TV shows before the Disney Marvel stuff. They had Star Trek 60th anniversary panels and all that good stuff. But basically, if you wanted to see those, you're competing with all the Marvel people because the Marvel fans are the ones who got in line starting Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I saw that, I texted you and asked if you had been to it, and you told me about some line opening.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so people start lining up unofficially on Thursday and basically start saving their spot to get into the official line. So there's basically unofficial lines to get into the official lines for Hall H. But so people will form line groups, and you can find create line groups with your friends, but most people don't have that many friends to save spaces for, right? So you got to take turns. So a lot of people form groups through Discord or through other online apps, fan groups and such. So basically That way you don't have to stay there for the next 48 hours, but you could take turns and shifts to hold the spot. Now, once you are in the official line, you can only hold space for yourself and 2 other people. So you have to make sure you're counting accurately before they start the wristbands. But the wristbands don't happen until the night before on Friday night. And even then the wristband isn't a guarantee either. So back to the line group part, I did get invited to join a group, and I thought about it, but they were offering me a really not great shift, and that's fair too, because I would have joined the group kind of late. I found out about the line group on I think like Thursday morning. My cousin invited me to join her group, and so, but they wanted me to get in line 4 a.m. on Friday and stay there until 2 p.m. So to take basically a 10-hour shift and stand in line. Whereas I think some of the earlier shifts people had signed up for, like, I don't know, my cousin had like 4 or 5 shifts. So she was there for 3 hours. She'd be there for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't know. Some people also just do it like in shifts of 4 hours or shifts of 8 hours. And of course, the more people you have in your group, you can divide up the shifts and the number of hours. But I wasn't going to do that because 10 hours, not only is it from 4 a.m. to 2 p.m., it's hard to sleep. And I would have missed all the Friday panels that I just told you about, the Spaceballs, Walking Dead, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, they also had Blade Runner that day too.
Okay. If I guess maybe talk about what other activities are at Comic-Con.
Oh, sure. So it's not just any, for the comic book nerd anymore, but the San Diego Comic-Con is one of the biggest gatherings for comics and movies and TV shows in the world. And there's many different things you can do there. There's things for gamers, there's things for TV show fans, comic book fans, memorabilia, collectors, name it, anything is there. So, for example, there's like a ballroom at a hotel and the entire ballroom is filled with people playing Dungeons and Dragons. Or you go to another ballroom and everybody's in there gaming, but they're playing Sega games, or they're playing Nintendo games, or they're playing you know what I mean? Like an entire ballroom dedicated to those things. In other ballrooms, it's super cool. They have like manga and anime that just plays all day long, one film after another. So there's like film festivals that you can watch continuously in other ballrooms. So it's not just limited to the convention center, but over the years, it's sort of outgrown its space. And so they use the nearby hotels immediately surrounding the convention center to also host panels and events and special activities. So usually like the panels when they're promoting TV shows or movies and comics, and they also have panels for video games too. So it might be a new game they're about to promote, some new characters. For Marvel, they were going to announce all the new movies in the next phase, talk about Spider-Man, talk about the upcoming Avengers movie and Doomsday. So it just kind of depends what it is that they want to promote. The most interesting thing is that over time, there's not been as much cool Marvel and Star Wars stuff. I mean, there's still lots of things to do there related to it, but the big things Disney saves for its own convention that it has, that they started, I don't know, about 10 years ago. It's called D23, and that happens in August. And so they sort of, hoard the stuff that they want to announce for it. So it was a really big deal this year that Marvel was there because last year they canceled. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And I know that there like when you and I went last year, we had to go and learn how to play Magic the Gathering, right? Isn't that what we did?
Oh, right. They had Magic the Gathering this year. And, we're really lucky we got to go last year. We got some, I made some reservations online and it was fun. They had Magic the Gathering this year it was Spider-Man cards last year. This year it was Marvel cards.
Oh, cool.
And they were willing to give you like a free demo deck. But here's the problem. This time they had moved it toward Petco Park, which is where the Padres play, the baseball team plays. and they have multiple different events going on inside Petco Park. But I'd heard through the grapevine the problem was it took 4 to 5 hours in line just to get into Petco Park, and then once you got into Petco Park, then you'd have to line up for whatever you wanted to do, including Magic the Gathering. So it's not like you're not going to wait in line. You're always going to have some type of line, but it just depends how many hours, depending on what the activity is and where everyone is. Like, is it going to be walk-in? Is it 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours? And then also, for example, the things inside Petco don't require a Comic-Con badge, right? So that's also open to the public. Many things outside are open to the public too.
Okay. If someone is interested in going, can you talk about how they would get tickets or what planning they need to do?
Yes, you really have to plan ahead of time. So, for example, tickets for Comic-Con, it's usually in July every year. It's held every July. They start going on sale for, there's 2 lotteries. Okay, so there's the lottery for returning badges. So because I went this year, I have a chance to go join a lottery for the tickets. It'll be like a virtual queue online, to sort of like when you're buying concert tickets and Ticketmaster and stuff, like a virtual queue. That would happen roughly around November of this year. So I would be buying my tickets this year for next year.
Okay.
And for the public, I believe the public sale usually happens like around January. So that's the other way. So if I can't get my tickets in November, I have a second chance to try in the public lottery. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is sometimes, like, there's actually 4 full days, and then there's the preview night, and which is interesting. You can only get the preview night if you have all 4 tickets. So it's kind of like whatever's available in the queue. When you get, called in the lottery, you might only see like, oh, Wednesday and Friday are available, or Friday and Sunday are available. So basically you want to buy whatever you want to buy, because you're not going to be able to get back in line and make, I can't go back and get another one, because literally the line is that long.
Wow.
And so you can also buy tickets for yourself and 2 other people, but you just can't buy them randomly anonymously. What I mean by that is everybody is assigned a user ID. So if I want to buy tickets for you, Goud, you would have needed to register for your user ID prior to the sale. You cannot create a user ID during the sale. So you need to make sure you have your user ID set up well before the lotteries start happening and the ticket sales. Now, also interesting, even though I've gone for the last 12 years, I feel like I've only been able to buy my own tickets maybe like 4 times.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why you want to have friends or friends of friends help you buy tickets too, because it's kind of tough. It's really hard. It's literally a lottery system, and you don't know if you're going to get, called or not. So it's handy to make sure you're, texting or keeping in touch with other people that you know, so that way you can help buy each other's tickets.
Okay. Mr. Producer says, this is cool. It's been 20 years since I've been to Comic-Con.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I know. It's no longer like grassroots. It's sort of exploded into somewhat commercialism. It's crazy.
Yeah. Have you ever not been able to get tickets during?
Yes.
Oh.
There was one year I actually didn't get any tickets at all, but it didn't matter so much that year because I was graduating from a master's program at that year, and I literally only had time to be there for 1 day. So super fun. I just came in, but there was lots of things to do outside, like different movie companies, different just product companies, like have activities or events or free things to do outside. Now, I do feel like a lot of the free cool stuff outside that was open to the public was much better before the pandemic. It just seems like everybody's kind of cutting back with the economy, or just, kind of like they want to have a presence there, but it's how much money do you want to pour into it? So meaning, like, several years ago, man, there were people who literally, they built a movie set for Blade Runner when it came out that time with Harrison Ford, the remake movie that they did.
Yeah.
And it was a huge set, and it took up, what they do is these movie companies or just corporate sponsors will rent empty buildings or rent existing buildings or restaurants and use it for Comic-Con during that time. Like, so to give you an example, this year I went into the Super Troopers 3 movie event. They rented a little Mexican restaurant that's right in the heart of the gas lamp, which is very close to the convention center.
Yeah.
So they converted it into their own thing. And so basically the restaurant shuts down, but they have use of the restaurant. So they have a bar, they have the main area, the seating. And to promote Super Troopers 3, super fun. The wait wasn't that bad. You could literally kind of walk in. So basically, they hand you a ticket, and it looks like a evidence tag for like, you know, checking in evidence for a crime, or like a speeding ticket like pass, and then you kind of get your thing stamped. So I was able to get like 3 free mini pancakes, coffee, and I got some swag. Yeah, they just keep stamping it off. And then inside you could play bear pong, you could play darts. One of the more hilarious things that happened was there was a highway patrol officer. He was a cosplayer hired by the company.
Yeah.
I saw him standing around, and I just kind of started talking to him. And I said, "Are you writing me a ticket?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm writing you a ticket." And I was wearing my Spider-Man shirt that day. So it's kind of funny. I'm wearing my Spider-Man shirt right now, too. But anyways, like, he starts writing this ticket. I'm like, why is he taking so long? So I just played along, and it was hilarious because I turned on my camera and started recording on my phone. And I said, "Officer, it can't be right. I haven't been doing anything wrong." He's like, "No, ma'am, you've been seen around our city with excessive littering." I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Your cobwebs are everywhere." And I said, "That's not possible." I said, "I compost everything, including my cobwebs." And he goes, "Nope, we have evidence all over. It's a mess." And then I go, "Well, hey, I actually recycle too." And I told him, this is true. I said, "Yeah, I started my middle school's recycling club. There's no way. I recycle and compost all the time." He goes, "Sorry, ma'am, I'm giving you this ticket." And he finishes writing me the ticket. He shows it to me, and it says, sure enough, it says excessive littering. And he goes, "Well, there's 2 ways that you can pay this fine. You can either use your superpowers during limited hours during the day, or you can pay in meows." I said, "Meows?" He says, "That's right, 10 meows." So I said, "Fine, I'll pay in meows," because I wanted to use my powers, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, meow, 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 meow.
Oh my gosh.
I gave him like 10 meows. I'm like, okay. And then he gives me the ticket, and he just walks off. I'm like, okay.
That's quite funny.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you for coming on. Can people follow you somewhere? I don't know if like for social media or something. Are you trying to promote anything?
Sure. I mean, I have a handle, but I don't know that I'm not the most prolific Instagrammer, but you can use my handle at Moistress, MOYSTRESS, Moistress. No, I'm not stressed out. It was just a nickname from a friend many years ago. He used to call me Mistress Mistress Moistress. So.
Very cool. Thanks, Melissa.
Sure, of course. Great. Thanks for having me.
Yep. I've known her since high school, so that's actually pretty funny. You know, and it is true. She did start the recycling club in her junior high school. So, and when she comes to visit me usually around July 4th, and she's actually gotten me to recycle more because every time she comes, she'll kind of, you know, we'll start doing it. But now I do it all the time. I don't know that I do it as much as she does, but I try because I'm like, you know, she actually started the club. I should try to be respectful. Okay. I guess I hope that was helpful. If you're thinking about going, though, it is fun. I went last year, and it was definitely interesting. A lot to do and a lot to see. So, although I thought I have a couple nephews, and I took my nephews. One of them didn't really like it, and the other one did. But I think the other one liked it because there was a lot of free stuff he was able to pick up. Okay, so we're talking about Vivek Ramaswamy, and Marsgate says he had the same speech trainer as Obama. Well, that's interesting. I did not know that. But yeah, like I was saying, I always thought he was a little bit of a scam artist, and mainly because, again, you're this big talker about the founding fathers and believing in all these rights, but then you were missing during COVID, and it turned out that he was advising the governor of Ohio, who's a Republican, Mike DeWine. But I don't know how much of a Republican. He's not conservative. He's a Republican. And but to lock down and to force masks and stuff like that. On top of that, if you look at how he became a billionaire, that just strikes me as a pump and dump scheme. And so to me at least, I don't know that he doesn't strike me as genuine, but he's now the nominee in Ohio for the gubernatorial race. And he seems to be getting, I can't tell what's going on because obviously I don't live there, but I have seen on War Room, they're saying that he's a weak candidate. And I think some of this is because he's promoting the things that people don't want. And so one of the things is, I think it was last year in December, he had that bizarre statement he put out about H-1Bs and Indians and how Indians work harder and they study more and that's why they do better in school and they have better, like this. I was just so offended by it. I thought it was really inappropriate and also not true. That's the thing, right? Like what he doesn't understand is that there is systemic discrimination in the US against white men, like explicitly against white men at every level of society. And so to act like the outcomes that we're getting are based on a system that's just based on merit is incorrect. It's not true. And Vivek Ramaswamy doesn't seem to acknowledge that. Plus, he's pushing things like data centers, which people don't want. And I noticed that his Democratic opponent, she was also involved in the lockdowns during COVID. So in a way, that they cancel each other out in that area. But she's against the data centers, or at least has said that she wants to have, requirements on them. And I think she on the H-1B thing, I don't think she's said what he has said. Now she's a Democrat, so I assume that they're for importing people. But if she hits that issue better than he does, I think she could beat him. And that's not good because that, remember, Ohio used to be a swing state. When Obama was president, really until Trump came around, it was a swing state, and it hasn't been a swing state since 2016. In fact, it's gone very red. So to have a Democrat governor there means it's going back to a swing state status. The other one that I think is showing some dangers of that is Iowa. Iowa, remember, under Obama was a swing state, and it's no longer a swing state. It's like a deep red state. And in fact, the governor there, this woman, Kim Reynolds, is essentially like a Ron DeSantis of the Midwest, that caliber. And now it looks like, although I think the Republican nominee there is really good, like really good. He was not endorsed by Trump. Trump endorsed his opponent, but he won. And so he's like full on Maha, full on like anti the data centers, all about kind of preserving our way of life, preserving America for Americans. Like he could win if people listen to him. But I think it's going to be a tough race because it's an open governor's race, and we just have a bad environment because of inflation, the Iran war, just what seems like an unresponsiveness of the Republican Party to its base. Anyway, we'll see where that goes. Mr. Producer says Sideshow Collectibles has a lot of cool collectibles. Oh, so Mr. Producer used to go to Comic-Con with a company he worked for called Sideshow Collectibles. Oh, and yes, they have Star Wars items. Well, that's cool. I like Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan, actually. Okay, let's see what else I have here. We'll have Brandy will come on in a few minutes here. The one thing I thought was kind of interesting. Oh, here, okay. While we wait for Brandy, I have data centers. This was interesting. So, oh, it looks like Brandy's here. Well, we'll just bring her on since I was going to talk about something, but I can wait. Okay. Hey, Brandy, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. You've changed your background.
I did. I learned how to change
your
it.
house.
Oh, yeah, this is clearly my house. This is where I
Yeah, you're right.
cool. Loving
very
it.
Yeah, like-
It doesn't look like during Chicagoland at all, does it?
no, it doesn't.
There we go. I try to get a good.
It is summer, so maybe like you could
It
have
does look like summer, and I did not realize I have not been on here all summer pretty much.
I know it's been a long time. I think when I texted you, I was like, wait, what happened? Why didn't we have you on?
I don't know. I guess everyone just got busy, but hey, now we can catch up. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So typically we do back home with Brandy. Today it's going to be at home with Brandy.
Oh, okay. Let's see
Wait,
where this is going.
Not like that, Goud. At home with Brandy.
Okay.
Usually we focus on something to do with like the Illinois politics and everything. But today I wanted to go like a different angle and focus on actual like what's going on in my household and how it relates back to politics.
Oh, okay.
You want to go on this journey?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So maybe your audience can help me with some of the issues we've been having at home. So as you know, and your audience probably doesn't know, I have a daughter who just turned 14 last week and is going to be entering high school. So we just finished 8th grade, right? In previous videos, you might recall we had track in 7th grade, and that's when there was a boy competing against from another school, but competing against her school. So now we did 8th grade, and she was on track, but there was no issue this year. And now we're going on to high school. And as she's getting older, we're starting to have a lot of conversations about what she hears at school and what's going on in her school life. And some of the issues that we've been addressing, I was maybe wanting to see what your audience's take on it, because we've had to discuss a lot of things recently. And a lot of them have to do with the racial climate in school. And as I said before, her grade school was probably about 80% like Middle Eastern and Indian. Her junior high was about 50%. So it got a little better. And for the first time in junior high, she was allowed to talk about Christmas and stuff, because that was all banned when in grade school.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Remember, like she couldn't, she got in trouble for drawing a Christmas tree in class. So, so it got better. We could address Christmas and stuff. So I was pretty excited about that. But now we have some new issues.
Okay. Well, Mr. Producer asked if you could tilt your camera down a little bit.
Oh, sure. Whatever you would like, Mr. I was trying to not. Is that better? Do I not look like a giant?
I think so, or more even.
Okay. Oh, look at us. We're totally even. Anyways, so some of the things we've been dealing with at home is that with her being the minority, she's clearly white, snowy like I am, vanilla as we call it. She's a minority in her school. So all the other kids are pretty much from colored backgrounds of some sort, whether it's Indian, Middle Eastern, Pakistani, Black, or Mexican. So some of the things we've dealt with is that we don't have a culture. So she's been very concerned recently because everybody else has a culture, and she's been told within school, not so much by teachers, but I think by other students, that white people don't have a culture. So she's been really focusing on being half Polish. And she's starting to learn Polish, and she wanted pierogies for her birthday because she's trying to embrace that, because she's been told in school she doesn't have a culture. There's nothing for you to celebrate, basically. Good. So we've had that. If anybody wants to chime in on how to deal with that kind of stuff. We've also had some new nicknames. Last year, in a lot of her classes, she was one of the 2 white kids. And she would either be called white kid number 1 or white kid number 2. That's how her fellow students addressed her. Now it's moved on to your slaveholders as nicknames. Yes, you're a slaveholder. You come from a background where you oppressed people. And we're starting to really get into that whole... Oh, no. Did someone just say, hey, Goud, Alex is on the call?
You did. Should we have Alex chime in on what?
Oh, Lord. Is he going to scream at me?
Mr. Producer, can you ask Alex if he has something to add to this conversation?
Well, how would Alex like me to address these topics with my child?
Hang on. Alex is here. Go ahead, Alex. Say hello.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me?
Unfortunately, we can.
Okay. Hey, so I'm calling in because I don't know how come Brandy can get in there on that video thing. Because speaking of slave owners, I'm just down here in the basement. I just want to video in with y'all. I want to talk about the issues of the day.
Is he complaining he's not on video?
I guess so. Well, you're calling in, so
you have to
Does he-
invite him in, Goud. You got to send him a link, okay?
You got to send me a link or something.
Yeah,
Oh
you're
yeah, I
fine.
got a link.
Brandy's a regular, so she gets a link. Okay, what do you have to add to this? Do you have something to add?
I don't know, because your video's on some kind of delay. Is that because of me? Did you get tired of me calling in?
No.
I had to pause it. What are we talking about? I want to hear what Brandy has. Brandy's asking for help with her child's education. I'm an educator. I just recently left my position.
So how would you address when your child is called white kid number 1, white kid number 2, or slaveholder?
Yeah.
Wait, ask it again. I didn't hear that.
How would you address it with your child when she's coming home and telling you that her fellow students have given her some nicknames? White kid number 1, white kid number 2, and slaveholder being the 3 of them we're currently dealing with.
Oh, I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
You have nothing this is what I'm dealing with, is because now we're the minority, and the understanding is that like the previous minorities would totally understand that you should never bully people about their race and stuff, but now we're the minority and she's getting bullied about her race, being told she has no culture because there's no white culture. And then being called these names. And then she has a little friend who's 100% German, and she's afraid to tell anybody she's German because they tell German kids that they're Nazis. And then they nickname them Nazi. So she's afraid. And then my daughter can't say that we come from a Jewish background because all the little kids tell her the nickname for Israel now is not real. That's what they say, because it's not real. Kids are clever. But she's afraid of anybody finding out that we have Jewish heritage, because she said that would get like half the school really angry with her.
God, that's insane.
I'm surprised. Sound very clever. How old are they?
She just turned 14 last week. So these are all 8th graders going into freshman year who are saying these things to her.
So they're going to be on the roads in a year or two.
Yeah, driving cars. I'm a little afraid.
Yeah. There's the real issue we need to be talking about.
Oh, trust me. She barely can stand on our porch and not fall off. And she rollerbladed into the neighbor's mailbox last year, breaking it. And I had to go bring the whole top of it to the neighbor and be like, I'm sorry. So yeah, she's going to have a license soon. But I'm just trying to navigate her through these conversations we're having where she's getting picked on for being white.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if anyone in the audience has any thoughts and you want to type it in the comments, we'd love to see it. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, Brandy. I feel like, I don't even, it's 2026. You would think that racial issues really weren't an issue at all at this point. So it's just bizarre to me that kids are still focused on that in the weirdest ways too.
So, and here's the kicker is that she's being taught that white people, that minorities can't be racist, only white people can. So she's telling me what's going on in class. And I told her, you do realize they're being racist towards you. And she's like, well, no, brown people can't be racist. I said, what they're doing is actually being racist towards you because you're white. And we had to have a whole conversation about that.
Only us white people can be.
Yes, she doesn't understand that everybody can be racist towards another group of people because she's being taught that it's only white people. And so she's not understanding that what's happening to her is actually a form of racism.
Yeah. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. I don't even obviously I don't have any suggestions for this because I haven't heard this. I don't have any kids, but I can't believe that.
My question was, is that what they mean by white privilege, that we're the only ones allowed to be racist?
Yeah. We're the only ones who get to be racist. Everybody else.
That's what you need to tell her. Say, well, it's a privilege. And that's what she should tell them. It's a privilege.
Mayor, say you're.
I guess, is she not allowed to say something back? Will she get in trouble?
She's afraid to, because just like everything, it becomes like a mob. And she's afraid to like really defend herself. And she's starting to believe it. And I'm having to like on a regular basis tell her like, no, what they're doing to you is wrong. Because she's not understanding it's wrong.
Jeez.
And so
that is a tough one.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and it's being done by people that we were told wouldn't do that once they were the majority. Like, and they're very cruel about it. So
yeah, Mr. Producer says bullying. Wow, it is bullying too.
It is. And like last year, one of the students stood up in class and said, I don't hate people except the Jews. And the teacher said, oh, don't say that. Just sit down. But the child wasn't even disciplined for standing up in front of class and announcing that.
That's insane.
The children at the school are super anti-Semitic, super. But they all come from kind of Middle Eastern backgrounds. So I'm sure they're getting it from home. But she's like afraid that anybody will find out.
That's crazy. Hey, so Mr. Producer Alex, he says, how do you stand up to a bully? Like, how did you deal with this in your school or something?
So if it's me and I'm being bullied by, in this situation, what I probably do is like put some dark makeup on my face just to see what it was like. Then I go to school like that just to see what it's like to live in their shoes for a day.
Oh, I think that's a really great idea for a 14-year-old starting high school. Should she do that on the first day?
I know, right? That's like the worst advice possible. I guess maybe Alex is the one that you ask and you do the opposite.
Maybe she should burn some crosses in their yards.
I take some pictures and I send them to the news so that when someone calls her racist, she can say, no, look, I was in the news. I know what it's like to walk in your shoes. Yeah.
I would like her to continue to go to high school. I don't want to find a new one. She's actually going to one of the a highly rated school, despite it being in a blue state.
Well, you're in Naperville School District, right?
Yeah. So it's a really good school district. It's just there's some challenges here that I feel like we did not have.
I mean, people sometimes made comments, but nothing like that. I can't remember stuff like that happening. Alex, do you have any other thoughts? Because otherwise, I'm gonna close you up so we can continue our conversation.
No, I was hoping we move on from this to the next topic.
Is there another topic you want? What do you want to talk about, Alex? You give me something.
I was calling in back when y'all were talking about Comic-Con.
Oh, well, you were too late. This is not Comic-Con. We were talking about with Melissa Moy. That was from 6 to 6:30.
How are you gonna be telling people's last name on the radio live like that? I just want to say I was living in Seattle a few years ago, and they had Comic-Con downtown, and I could smell it from 6 blocks away. I don't know if that's helpful information for your viewers and listeners, but that's my conversation.
Okay, thank you for calling in. Bye.
All right.
What?
Okay. I don't know. Maybe he had too much of that product when he was at the Comic-Con convention.
Yeah, what is he talking about? And that's not helpful at all to my situation of how to deal with what's going on.
No. Yeah,
nobody has any advice. We're all stuck.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know how you deal with that. I mean, it is racism. It is bullying. And I'm wondering if do the schools, don't they have anti-bullying policies? Or does that just cause a whole other issue because the bullying continues just in other venues now?
They do. So when talking about it, it's like so many kids are doing this. I don't even know how to report it. You know what I mean? when your whole class refers to you as white kid number 1 or 2 or something, like, I don't even know how do you, it's not even like one bully. It's like a whole mob mentality coming at you.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what to do with it, you know? And it's happening, it's kind of happening, I think, to most of the white students by what I understand. But I don't, and I think the schools are very careful about how they handle this type of stuff. Because like I said, the one student stood up and said they hated Jews. And I mean, could you imagine if a student stood up and said, I hate black people or something? You'd be sent to the office, right?
I would
And
hope so.
The teacher just said, oh, that's not nice, sit back down. And that really kind of solidified my daughter's like, yeah, I better not let anybody know I'm Jewish, because like they didn't really do anything about it. And so I just feel like the tides are changing, and it's going in the opposite direction. We've overcorrected is what I think has happened. Someone said it's time to find a new school. I'm in one of the better schools.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. She did.
It's not time to find a new school. It's time to find a new state, but I can't leave yet.
I know. Are you trying to wait until she graduates?
Yes. I feel trapped. Yeah. And trust me, she gets upset when you mention move into another state because she doesn't want to lose her, it's that age. I don't want to lose my friends, even though a lot of people are mean to me. So I'm guessing that this is going to be, it's happening probably a lot that people don't know about, because unless your kid comes home and tells you what they're saying, I didn't even know it was going on for a while. And she told me, oh yeah, they've been calling me that all year. And I didn't find out to the end of the year. I was like,
with friends like that, who needs enemies? I also think there's been a change in how people talk about race generally. I've talked about this on the show before, but I feel like when we were growing up, these like differences, like cultural and racial, were more of just kind of like interesting, right? Like it was kind of like,
yes.
And now it seems like there's just a lot more negativity around. It was interesting in that, like, like you could come to my parents' house and they'd have like different food and be like different. And then I go to your parents' house, we'd have different food and we'd feed raccoons and all this kind of like neat stuff, right?
That's not exactly normal, Goud, but
but you know what I'm saying? Like it was all interesting stuff. Now I feel like it's gotten all negative.
Yeah, I don't think we ever criticize each other for not having culture or anything like that. Like
I think you do have culture. But I've known you for years. I mean, I know you have culture because I've experienced it with you,
Yes, like my family was very mixed background, because I had Southern side that had a whole Southern culture, and then I had a Jewish side, I had like a Chicago side. So like there was lots of differences, but and I had to explain that to her, because if German's not the same as Irish. And then with the whole slave owner thing, like she didn't even realize that other races have been slaves. And she was telling me about how the people who've had it worse in the whole world are Black people. And I said, well, they've had it bad, but there's lots of people who've had it bad. And then I had to kind of explain to her, like, whites were slaves too. And brown people owned white people. Brown people own Black people. Black people own Black people. White people own Black people. It was, and she was kind of amazed because they call her slave owner. We talked about how not everybody comes from slave owners to begin with, but then you're not responsible for what somebody did 200 years ago either. Like you're 13, 14 years old, like you weren't involved. So I was like, it's not fair that they punish you for that. Just like we want to punish other people for things. So, but the school is very liberal on top of it. And like I said, she had that class that it was a social studies class, but all they did was talk about human rights the whole year. And they would have CNN kids like in the classroom every morning for like 10 minutes. So I have no idea what programming they did to her with things like that. But she seems
the one you were trying to watch, but you couldn't?
Yeah. There's no way to watch it, but they put it in the classroom.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, well, Mr. Producer, the word slave comes from Slavic, Eastern Europeans who were made slaves. Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, I just explained that to her too, because she's half Polish, which is Slavic. Yep. And so I had to explain to her like that we talked about how when the Irish came, people wouldn't hire them for jobs. The Italians had it rough. I said there's kind of a period of time when everybody would.
Yep. And then Marsgate says, I'd move because her education is going to suffer.
Well, we're at one of the best, like God knows where I'm from, and like Naperville is one of the best school districts in the state. So it's like, besides moving out of state, I don't know if I can do any better. And then you have like, there's other school districts around, but they have a lot more crime than Naperville school district. So it's like, what do you do with that? So there's no easy answers, and there's no easy way to talk to kids about this. And there's not a lot of resources of like how to address these issues. And she's the mom mentality gets to her, and I say something, but she kind of forgets it by the time she gets to school, and like kids are saying things, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
And she's not a very brave kid, so she doesn't really defend herself. She just kind of accepts that she's like white kid number 1 or 2. So, or just slave owner that day. And she just lets people refer to her that way. And so
I'm interested to see how it's developed. Have you talked to any of the other parents, like some of maybe the kids of the parents, the kids are saying it, or like some of the other white kids' parents?
So when trying to address the whole boy in the girls track thing, I did reach out to other parents, and they were all okay with it. So I was the outlier, but it's because it's a very liberal area. So I don't even know if any of the parents would say anything. I know for sure a lot of them won't, because they actually repeat that stuff to their children about like white people being bad to their own white kids. So I'm kind of alone here, I think.
That's crazy.
But I thought we would try to address something different today, because I don't know what to do with it.
We'll have to talk about this again, because maybe I'll try to advertise it, because I bet you there's a lot of people here dealing with that type of stuff as well. I don't know if they deal with that, like how parents deal with what is racism in the schools. Because like I said, I'm kind of shocked it still is even an issue.
Yeah, and it's not really being addressed at all, because it's the other way around. And like I said, even my daughter thought like you can't be racist. Brown people can't be racist. And I was like, what? And she tried to explain to me. She's like, they can't. So she thinks it's like okay, until I finally said, no, it's not okay. So, and now I'm afraid to send her to college. What am I going to do about that? College is kookier than high school, isn't it?
Yeah, but I really think you have to set a real solid basis and a foundation so they can go and resist. If I mean, obviously there's nothing, you can't control how they turn out when they go to college, right? But at least you give them a solid foundation with which, like, so they understand who they are and like their values, and they can at least try to maybe withstand some of it.
My coworker sent 3 kids to college, and they grew up in a conservative household, and all 3 of them are very woke liberals. He said, and he's like, it happened in college. He could see exactly what was going on.
That sucks.
Yeah, they're all like 40 now. So it was happening back in our day. It's not even like the new college. It was like the days when we went to college, and it changed the all. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe trade school, maybe. I don't know. Like, you go where you can just get an education and not like programmed. So I don't know.
Like, I want to be a lawyer. You're like, you will become an electrician. I can't deal with you being woke.
I know, lawyers are awful, man. Can't stand those lawyers.
I know. I tell you, I don't really hang out with lawyers that much because they're annoying.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, a lot of them are very liberal, like in a weird way, where I'm just like what you just said about you can't, like a white brown person can't be racist. I bet you there's lawyers who think that.
Such a bizarre thought, and like when you're around diversity, you'll find out really quickly that not every brown group of people like each other. Not every Hispanic group of people, like the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans, have their own beef. Like then the Mexicans fight with the blacks and stuff. Like it's not what everybody, and even the Native Americans, they actually hate each other's tribes too. Everyone thinks they're a happy group of people. They're not a happy group of people. They fight just like everybody else. Like they don't like each other.
Yep. And there's fighting within the communities. Like within Indians, like lighter skinned Indians are racist against darker skinned ones.
Yeah.
They have, like,
And black
tests
people do the
that,
same thing with light skin and dark skinned black people. They will be racist against each other. That's why I'm like, anybody can be racist. It's
Yep.
there's racism all over the place. So, and sometimes the biggest offenders are the ones you wouldn't think would be the biggest offenders. So we don't have that in the white community. There's no light skin versus dark skin whiteys.
I guess. Well,
I mean,
but
let's be honest.
No, but there used to be, right? There used to, like, when the Italians came over, they discriminated. There was some of that happened. So it's not like it's.
But we're all trying to get tan now. All the white ones are trying to get browner.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
See? Yes. So,
I did have something for you in Illinois, though.
oh, what did you have? What did I miss?
But I think we should do this on another show, and I'll try to advertise it a little bit ahead of time, and then we'll see if people come on and have suggestions. I think that'd be really okay. Here, so there's a guy running for mayor of Chicago. I want to see if you saw this. His name is John Kelly.
John Kelly?
Yeah, and I assume that the mayor's race is next year. Is that right? So this is him.
I'm trying to think, how long have we had Johnson for? It seems like eternity, but I don't know. Let's see.
And I feel like it's an off-year thing for you guys.
Chicago used to be known as the city that works. Not anymore. It's early evening. I'm on the L, and it's almost empty because Chicagoans are afraid to ride the train at night. That's not a city that works. I'm John Kelly, and I'm running for mayor of Chicago because keeping people safe should be the mayor's #1 priority. We used to have about 400 police officers riding the trains. On my first day as mayor, I'm going to start putting them back. There are 154 police officers on Mayor Johnson's security team. I'm going to cut that by 75% and put 100 more police officers on the trains immediately.
We don't have to watch the whole ad. I like some of the background because I haven't been there in a while. So I was like, oh, there's the.
Oh, it's like memories for you.
Yeah.
No, but you know also, what? I did ride the L recently, and they had the Cook County Sheriff's Department on it. And it was the nicest L ride I've ever had, Goud.
Oh, nice. Okay,
yeah,
so
there was like 6 officers on it. I didn't even know they were doing that. It was like at the end of May. And I was like, oh my God, like I got on it and we went up to, where'd we go? North Side. And we were on the red line. And it was so nice. There was like no urine smell. There was no homeless person babbling. Nobody was like eyeballing you like they were going to jump you because they were on there and they were just walking up and down the cars. And I was like, I kind of like this. I would like to see more of it because it looked very effective.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, this guy, his wife is Julie Kelly. I thought they lived in Naperville, but I guess they're in Chicago. And she was one of the reporters who followed all the J6 cases when those were going on.
Okay.
And she followed them in detail. Yeah, like she'd go to all the hearings and everything. And so her husband is running for mayor. They're Democrats. But I thought that was he's running as kind of a law and order Democrat, which I think is interesting.
Which is like a classic Democrat. That's like the old school Democrat.
Like a Daley.
Yeah, very much.
Daley was there. I don't remember having all these problems like it has now.
I remember Daley Sr. He was the one that back in the 60s and stuff was just like shooting water at them and tear gas. And he wasn't taking any crap from protesters and stuff. Yeah, but I'll have to do some research maybe for the next one on this guy. Unfortunately, it's hard for me to get high hopes because, like with our governor race and stuff, it's always a disaster. And we took Lightfoot and we said, oh, we didn't like how Lightfoot did it. Let's vote in the man Lightfoot because that will be different. He's a man just like Lightfoot. And then he did the same thing. And everybody's like, oh, we don't like him. I'm like, because we just voted for the same thing. And we can't get him to stop. There is a group called Chicago Turns Red that's working on it.
I don't know if it's going to turn red, but this guy's he's a Democrat, so I feel like maybe there's some potential there.
Maybe that's the key is that you're Republican, but you run as a Democrat and hope nobody notices.
That's how the Democrats do it in states like Utah. They run as Republicans, and then you get in office, and you're like, oh, you support what? You support the trans agenda? Are you a Republican?
See, well, see, now I just called out John Kelly. Sorry, John. Yeah, you're totally a Democrat. We totally believe it.
No, I legit think he is, because there's some guy who's been going after Julie Kelly because her husband has donated money to Biden and stuff like that. So I actually think they're really Democrats. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we are at time. Thank you for coming on. We'll have you. Yeah, like when you come back, let's do this again. We could talk about some more about it.
Yeah, I can come back sooner than 3 months.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do it
together something. And in the meantime, if your viewers have any tips, maybe they can give me tips next time I'm on, and I'll let you guys know if high school is continuing to be what kid number 1 and 2. Potentially what kid 3 or 4 this year.
Okay, cool.
Maybe more.
Okay, thanks for coming on, Brandy.
No problem. See you guys later.
All right.
Good.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure. You've been listening to the Goud Crowd. We are on every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. on my X handle, which is at Goud for Utah, and then at the Main Street Media Utah X handle, and then YouTube and Rumble, and then kmmu.org. We will see you next week. In the meantime, if you have anything, if you want to follow me, I'm the most active on X, so do that. And if you have any tips or anything, feel free to send them over. You can DM me on X, or my information is pretty